Today, I'm going to be speaking with Mexican aeronautical engineer Andrés Mendoza Ponce de León. Andrés is a co-founder and administrative director of Katara Farms, and he's also a co-founder of VitaPro Medical Supplies. If you want to support the podcast, check out the links in the description. Now it's time to learn more about how Andrés has become internationally paid.
Andrés, tell me like the origin story of Katara Farms. I was able to talk with your brother a little bit about it, but I want to hear like what what was going on in your life at the time, right? Like how were things going for you? What made you guys decide to start the farm, and
Okay.
how did it happen, right? Like I know
Okay.
there's a lot of things that have to come together for you guys to decide to start a business.
That's right. Well, yeah, sure. Let me tell you a little bit about it. I have to give credit to my brother. It's actually a family business. We are three brothers, and we are the three on the business, and with my father also. My mother isn't on it, and my middle brother. I'm the youngest of the three brothers. And Daniel, which is the middle brother, he is a crazy entrepreneur. I have to credit him because since he was very young, he was doing business all the time. Uh, like 15 years ago or a lot of time ago, when we were very little, he went into the mountain and bought a cow, from a man over there, and that he wanted to feed and to have and then to sell, right? To have this small
Wow.
business. And then he had a restaurant and he had a couple of other small businesses. He's really a big entrepreneur, and he's like a boots on the field person. So he's like more operative. Actually, in Katara Farms, he handles like more operative matters, and I handle more like office and administrative stuff, accounting, the certifications, and so on. So we have a grandfather, the father of my father. Unfortunately, he died too young. We never got to meet him, but we always heard that he was a farming guy. He had cattle, a lot of cows, and he had also cotton fields in Michoacán. So and mostly my brother wanted always to do an agriculture business. So like 6 years ago, the things started to come together. Um, um, a very nice person helped us to get ahead and to get like the green light and the go with a credit line, a loan from a banking institution. And at this time, I was actually finishing my career, which I studied aeronautical engineering. I'm an aeronautical engineer, and I was actually scoping and heading to the aeronautic industry. I worked for 6 months in a very great company, Brose, which is automotive, but it has to do with my career, engineering. And then I faced this big decision. My brother told me, you know what, Andres, we are all set and ready to start this big business. This is a big deal. We will have like a lot of employees, a lot of stuff to do. So we need all the family power on board.
Yeah.
So I got this pathway decision to continue with my engineering and my stuff, or to go into the family business with my brothers and my father. And yeah, I'm very happy I chose to do the family business, and we started together, and we've been fighting all the challenges that come across since then.
Absolutely. Wow. Yeah. So a family business. You guys decided to, Daniel led the charge to start the farm. Your dad
Yeah,
decided to back you guys.
right.
You said, all right, there's a fork in the road. I got to make a tough decision. And you went and you trusted your family, and that decision has paid off tremendously. You guys have an incredible farm. I was able to go
Yeah.
out and visit, for everyone listening, myself and one of my good friends and colleagues, Jack, were able to go out to the farm and visit you guys there, and you guys have an incredible operation. Like you guys
Thank you.
are running smoothly from the very beginner knowledge that I have about greenhouses. You guys are doing it the best way possible. Like, I would love to get into the greenhouse talk and ask, like, why did you guys choose the particular greenhouses you did? You know, like
Hmm.
that build is unique. It's very tall.
Yeah.
Um, so, well, before we get into that, um, the conversation surrounding choosing to do greenhouse versus traditional agriculture,
Hmm.
what were those conversations like? You know, were you there
Hmm.
with Daniel when you guys were making the decision to choose greenhouse instead of traditional, you know, get a big tractor, get some land, you know, get the components for the tractor and you know, do it the field way.
Yeah.
Why did you guys go greenhouse? What was it about that really attracted you guys?
Yeah. So we on the preparation of this project, we started out 6 years ago, but like 8 years ago, maybe even 9 years ago, we really started to plan this out. We had a very good friend, which was our associate on the beginning of the business, and then we part ways. We couldn't agree on some stuff, so we really parted ways. But this guy, he really gave us like a jump start on all this information. He told us greenhouse is like a big trend right now. It started out like in Europe, and we also did our research. It started out many years in Europe. It came down to USA also many years ago, and now in Mexico you start to see more and more and more. Like from 30 years back to now, there's been a huge ramp up with greenhouses. So we analyzed it. We did our research, made our numbers, and found out that it really could pay off. Um, we um, we came near a customer, which he actually set us the pathway. He told us, well, I can buy from you all the tomato, all the product, and you are to seed this type of tomato, this type of variety. It's good if you do this type of greenhouse, and also a very big component here is the land where we have our ranch right now, which is like 11 hectares. I don't know, it's like 25 acres, something like this. This is very good for greenhouse, but if you were to do like open field, like you were saying, then you would need like much more land. So that also makes sense. Like the land that we were aiming to do this project on, it was like more for greenhouse oriented.
Yeah, so to hit the production numbers that you guys wanted to hit at the quality you needed to hit,
Yeah,
Greenhouse made it a clear decision with the given space that you had.
that's right. And
Excellent.
also, let me add a little bit on this. So I think maybe I'm mistaken. I am no agronomic engineer, but there are like these big categories in agriculture. You got the open field, which is like you don't put any structure over, so you just get the land and go for it with some crops. You can do tomato on the open land, but mostly people tend to do corn and lettuce and some other type of plants of vegetables. then and this needs like lower investment, and you get in contribution like a lower yields and lower profit. And if you want to really get big profit from this, you have to go many acres and expand really big. So the next like category is the macro tunnels. I'm not sure if this is the right word in English. I think so. Um, but these macro tunnels, they are like greenhouses, but with no sidewalls. They only got the roofing, so they protect you a little bit of the harsh weather, like if you get ice coming down or big rains that could ruin your field, and also they protect you from extreme heat, right? And on the months that are very extreme, and people tend to do berries on this type of agriculture, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, mainly, but also I think I've seen zucchinis on macro tunnels, and this is like a low medium investment, and then the highest investment per acreage or per hectare that you can do is the greenhouse, where you get like more weather control, and then you have the whole structure with walls and roofing and a lot of window systems that could help you control the weather inside your greenhouse. Um, so yeah, these are like the main categories in agriculture nowadays.
Excellent. Yeah. And thank you for that. I think you did a really great job going through those different categories. I
Thank you.
have heard of macro tunnels. I'm familiar with that. It provides a little extra shade. Greenhouses can, even within greenhouses, they can range between
Yeah,
like very advanced, like they can take soil samples on a regular basis, light
yeah,
samples within the soil. They can have, I've seen insane automation on some of those
yeah,
greenhouses.
yeah,
And
beautiful.
it really is. It becomes an elegant system, and it's a model of engineering. Absolutely. Um,
Um,
and um, the question that I have now that we're getting into more of the operations and more into the business, when was it in your guys's timeline that you decided we want to sell to the U.S. market? Right? Like
okay.
that's an incredible step to take as a company, right? As a farm, you're in Mexico. You guys decide, okay, we're gonna grow tomatoes. We've discussed with the customer. Was it that first customer that was selling to the U.S. market? Was it your second or third customer? When was it exactly that you guys decided, oh, we can we can sell to the U.S.? And
To the US.
what was appealing about selling to the U.S. market? Was it
Okay.
the that the tomatoes were getting a better price there? Was it
Mhm.
the consistency of the U.S. market, or what exactly was the conversation there?
Yeah, so this is a good question. So from the very beginning, we targeted the US market, and from the very start of the company, our tomatoes are reaching the US. But on the first like 3 years, we didn't have a packing house, which allows you to sort and pack and cool and get it like in a cooling room your product. So the cooling trucks, they can come and take the product directly to the US. So first years we took our product to a packing house of a customer nearby our area, and they got like a lot of the profit of the product because they are doing all this operation. And but our tomatoes were reaching the U.S. market from the very beginning. Some of it, like maybe 10%, which is not qualified like top quality or exporting grading. We sell it like to small markets in Mexico. We have also sold tomatoes to like the top quality markets here in Mexico, and we have gotten very good prices out of this. But very interesting point on this is that cherry and grape tomatoes, which we are big on those, and medley tomatoes, the color ones, um, they are not so popular in Mexico, Will. They simply are not so consumed. We here in Mexico, we don't have them a lot in our tradition and our in our custom to cook and to use these tomatoes. That's a reality. So there are many greenhouses that grow Roma and Saladet and all these type of tomatoes, which they are bigly consumed here in Mexico and everywhere. Uh, but the thing with those, there's a big risk involved in these tomatoes. Doesn't matter if you export them to the US or you sell them here in Mexico, which there's a big market for them. They are uh, they have crazy prices. Sometimes you would get rich in 2 months with those tomatoes, and sometimes you will be like 4 months just crying because every all the prices are too low.
Wow.
Yeah, that's big. And I think the word is commodity. I'm not really sure, but grape and cherry tomatoes are like commodities, and their pricing is very stable. It's very stable. So you can do a more controlled business with less risk.
So it was a strategic decision down to the species that you guys were going to grow of tomatoes, and you guys decided to do risk mitigation, and you chose, hey, we're going to grow these tomatoes, but we don't want to be subject to the Roma ups and downs,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Roma woes.
yeah, yeah. That's right.
Interesting. That's fascinating. So and it was really interesting that you said the medley tomatoes. I remember seeing those tomatoes. They were really beautifully colored. Like some of them were yellow, some of them were green, some of them were orange, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, right. And
And
we
even
even
brown?
even brown and even
Yes,
pink.
yes. And it's fascinating. So culturally, they're not consumed widely in Mexico.
Yeah.
Mostly in the United States, they're consumed. And are there any other markets? Like, are you guys considering expanding to like, Canada or, maybe even is it worth it to try and sell in the European markets, right? Like
Yeah.
the French or, again, I'd be really curious to know that. How are you guys looking at potential expansion into other markets? Or are you guys just looking at doubling down and investing more into the US market?
Yeah, so US market and Canadian market are like part of the same kind of market. Most of our customers, so we sell to brand customers, which they then sell to the supermarkets like Costco and so on. We generally don't do like business directly with Costco, Walmart, or HEB. So they buy like for companies that have like I don't know 20 items, bananas, pineapples, tomato, a lot of things. So we try to go directly to the supermarket, but it actually works like with these brands in the middle. And these customers that we have, they are always targeting like US and Canada market kind of on the same page. So since many years ago, our tomatoes are, I would say like 70 to 90% reaching the US market, and maybe another 30 to 10% is reaching the Canadian market. And talking about other continents. We have done some research on Asia, and we found a customer in Japan that was willing to pay a very good price. And we did the research and sort out the logistics and how we would get the tomato over there. And the shipping cost is really big, and we didn't go for it because the shipping and logistic cost took a lot of the money out of the price. So it really didn't seem like much bigger business than we have right now, and it entailed a lot of risk. So
Yeah.
we didn't follow that path, but there's a market in other continents. Yeah.
Interesting. Excellent. So logistical challenges is one of the big barriers to overcome going from North America to other markets across the ocean. Is it
Yeah.
really the difficult part when you start to have to cross the Atlantic and the Pacific? Is that really
Yeah.
where the
That's it.
operational risk? Yeah. So
Yeah,
the
well,
operational risk increases across the oceans tremendously.
yeah, and it comes down to our type of product because tomato is very low on the shelf life. So it's one of the vegetables that has the lowest shelf life. And if we were doing like avocados or maybe zucchinis or other stuff, maybe we could reach more easily European or Asian markets.
Fascinating. Yeah. And that's interesting. That's really interesting. The it really is a uh, commodity specific experience, right? Like
Yeah.
your shelf life, the coloring, the that was a really interesting thing I learned. Can you explain a little bit about like how the color system works with tomatoes, right? Like the color of the tomato, again, correct me if I'm wrong here, is will be something that is set by the buyer in the United
That's
States. So the US buyer will say, hey, um, Andres, we would like to purchase tomatoes at this specific color rating. How does that system work?
Yeah, good question. So, in I think in most of the vegetables and in tomato, the color ripeness stages from 1 to 6. We label them with number one, number two, number three, four, and five. With one being very green, and with six being very ripe and very colored and ready to eat. So what mainly varies through these colors is the sweetness the product has. So if you were to eat a tomato on color stage 3, it wouldn't taste as sweet as if you eat it on color 6 or 5. So customers, they have their logistics times and schedules. So if they are like receiving the product in Nogales, which is western coast, and they have to ship some of the pallets to the east coast, they know they have like a long way to go through, and they would ask us to deliver the tomato at color 3 or color 4. So and other customers, maybe they are very short in their logistics time, and they say, you know what, you can send me the tomatoes much more ripe than in color 4 or 5, even 6, and this comes only at a cost of the sweetness. You always want to get the greatest sweetness because this is what the customers and we will taste like good tasting. Generally, there are a lot other factors, but generally, if you don't have a good sweetness, which is measured in bricks grades, I don't know if it's the proper word in English, but it's bricks scale. Our tomatoes are like at 10 number, grade 10 of bricks. And if you consume it like at color 3, it would have like 7 bricks stage. Yeah.
That makes a big difference. Yeah, there's nothing like biting into a good cherry tomato in a salad when it's nice and sweet. It's
Yeah.
delicious. It's a
Yeah, and
great
crunchy.
addition. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Interesting. Interesting. And so I want to ask a few questions regarding the the overhead running a company in Mexico. So one
Mhm.
thing that I've come to learn is that there is a very different reporting standard in Mexico versus the United States.
Hmm.
Running a business in Mexico entails a pretty hefty amount of reporting to uh, SAT, right? Which is
Yeah,
the Mexican equivalent of the IRS.
right.
So I know that you run more of the administrative duties. How, in your experience, how much more overhead and how much more reporting is involved in running a Mexican company versus a US company?
Oh, I think it's a lot more. Yeah, I also heard this. I mean, I've experienced firsthand every day with the Mexican SAT, the SAT system, but I'm not really sure how thorough is the system with the IRS. But I've heard it's much more simple and straight than the Mexican way. And I wish that it was like that in here because then you could only focus on doing the business, right? Why go all this detail on the accounting? But yes, you have to. There's a lot of requirements for doing an invoice. Every invoice has a chain, an electronic chain, and this comes from many years ago. And you have to choose a key, a code that links to your type of product. If you choose and then so you choose this um, code of product, it would be the translation, and then you put in the concept grape tomato. And if you maybe there's a code that stands for vegetables, and then maybe there's a code that stands for tomato specifically. And if you choose it wrong, then you can get a fine from the SAT. Yeah, and just like this example, there are like other uh, eight or 10 aspects of every invoice that you have to get right. And so we really have to invest a lot of time and resource in accounting, so we don't do these little mistakes that can compromise the operation and have the SAT come over to our company and say, why are you doing all this wrong? So they start to examine and audit everything on you. So we really have a lot of accounting people. We have an external accountant right now, and maybe like there are like four accounting people in our company. One is the head, a woman. She's really great with accounting, and we have other three assistant accountants, and also an external accountant that is helping us every week with stuff. So it's
Wow.
really complex. Yeah, I think if we were in the US, maybe we would need only one accountant or something like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it is 5 people for the accounting team is a lot of resources.
Yeah.
That's fascinating, and it's interesting. In the United States, I'll give you an example for a restaurant that my wife and I have. We have one accountant, right?
Okay.
We have 15 employees roughly, some of
Okay.
them part-time, some of them full-time, but we only need
Okay.
one accountant and he comes part-time. He comes like one day a week.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's sounds much different than the experience you guys are having.
Yeah, it
Um,
is.
yeah, so that's really interesting. And to combat those challenges, are you using are you getting ahead trying to build good procedures and good practices internally? Are you guys
Yeah.
trying to use software? Like, what does that landscape look like for you trying to solve these administrative challenges on a week to week basis?
Yeah. So there's like this fear that if you do something wrong, then the SAT is gonna come over and be all over your operation and seeing everything, and then you will have to invest a lot of time and maybe pay some fines because you did some details wrong. So thank God, we hadn't had never any problems with SAT, but we have heard these horror stories from other companies that they screw up big time and they have like a year or maybe more time to recuperate their business, and all of this time they have to invest their time just to have the SAT happy. So yeah, we have prepared a lot out of this fear that this could happen to us. Um, um, we have done a lot of research. We have visited a lot of accountants, experts in agriculture, and we are really getting ahead of any problem that may happen.
Excellent. Yeah. And as you guys have continued to scale, right? When you started 6 years ago, um, what was the scale you guys started at? Like, was it one greenhouse? Was it two? Was it three? And
Okay.
as you increased, you hired more accountants, you hired, more laborers, more teams to work on harvest, more teams to work on planting. What were the challenges? Like we'll start with like the biggest administrative challenge going from
Okay.
the beginning of the operation to, now you guys have a packing house. Now you guys are packing your own tomatoes, and I'm sure that came with a whole host of operational challenges, but
Yeah.
we'll start with the administrative. What was it like at the beginning, and what were the biggest challenges you faced as you grew?
Okay. Yeah. So first, the road that we've been following. First, we did 5 greenhouses, and then we built I don't know the name in English, but it's a German propagation facility. I think that's the name.
Yeah,
Propagation
exactly. You got it.
facility. So in this place, it's like a smaller greenhouse. It's not a hectare big greenhouse. It's only like a point 2 hectare greenhouse
Mhm.
where you do your propagation. Before we used to do it with external companies, and well, there's a cost involved on that. You have to pay them more, and there's also a cost that you do not control the plant that you get. Mostly on the truck when they ship you your plants, your small plants from their facilities to your facilities. The plants with the vibration and with the heat and with the shading of the truck, this all will make your plant very sad. So the biggest take home on this is that if you have your propagation facility, you will have a much stronger plant in your greenhouse. That's a great deal. So we did 5 greenhouses propagation, then like maybe 1 year after the 5 greenhouses, then a couple of years after, with the help of my biggest brother, we got some investment to do our packing house. And we went on to research and to learn a lot of logistics and to into the export system in the border. You have to have like permits and registration that stands for your facility and your company, that you are not doing any price dumping into the US, that you are not doing some dirty operation that may have an illness like salmonella and some other stuff like this, that you are very innocuous, that your quality is very good. So you have to go through a lot of filters, and we got help from our current customer at that time. They helped us to do all this because they got knowledge on this. And then we built it. Then we built 2 more greenhouses, and then we started to search greenhouse partners because there are a lot of greenhouses that do not have their own packing house. So we went to search them and to tell them, you know what, we've been doing our homework with the customers. We got a good pricing. We have a packing house. So send me over your product, and we make an alliance, and we're gonna sell very good your tomato. And that was the last scaling that we did. So now we receive the product of 10 hectares, like from 4 or 5 producers that only have greenhouse, no packing house. And so that was a road of scaling. And coming back to the challenges, you ask what are the main challenges here? There are many challenges, but one comes to mind that maybe is one of the biggest and the most important. Um, we from the very beginning we have a lot of employees, maybe like 100 employees, and now we have roughly 200 employees. And there are a lot of capable people on your team that you see on the statistics that they maybe hadn't have any absence or inassistance to your company like in 2 years. You say, wow, this people is this employee is very committed. You know them because you see them and you talk to them. So you give them the opportunity to take on bigger positions on your company. And so sometimes we want to give the opportunity to a growing person that is not maybe an experienced person that will solve the problem that your key position needs. But you give them the opportunity because you see a responsibility and so on them. And also they would be maybe more cheap than getting an experienced one. So this is a mistake. I mean, you can afford to do it. Maybe if you now have a good feeling of this person, you can go with the risk and give them the responsibility and see and supervise and see what happens. But we did. You could do this like sometimes, and sometimes it pays off big. Some people grow a lot and they take on the responsibility and they rock their position. And so many others, on the most of the time, if you give them these big roles and they weren't trained for this, they will fail. They will fail, and then you lose big money because they are not doing their job, and they screw up on some couple things, and then you lose a shipment and maybe a lot of another shipment because you didn't get the trucking at the time you needed. So the tomato gets old, and then the customer says, "Oh, I don't want it anymore," and you go and sell them elsewhere that is much more cheaper. Stuff like this, but
Mhm.
many more examples that will make you lose money. So really, maybe a tip or yeah, a tip for scaling up is to hire trained and capable people. If you're scaling up very like abruptly and rapidly, you really need to invest on the people that would handle this. That's
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah. Um, and just to talk about like, well, oh man, there's so much to unpack there.
yeah,
So thank you for that. Let's start. I just want to recap the challenges and the steps you guys took in scaling. So, and then I want to ask about where you're finding these people, right? Like, where are you going? What are you looking for? But we'll get to that. So, you guys started with 5 greenhouses.
yeah,
Then you saw, okay, the operational bottleneck for us is we can't pack our own product. So then you guys invested in building a packing house. That came with a whole host of operational challenges,
right,
I'm sure, right? Because you're building a new area, uh, you're learning new procedures, the equipment that becomes a part of that, right? Like packing houses have their own unique mechanical equipment that helps them assist in packing these processes. Um,
that's right,
and if anybody doesn't know what I'm talking about, just Google, produce packing houses, and you're going to see some incredible machines.
yeah,
I was able to see some really cool mechanical dynamics when I was watching things, and then you
yeah,
get to see people moving around them as well. So, um, you you guys built the packing house, then you expanded, and you said our next bottleneck is our our plants are arriving a bit under the weather
yeah,
because what you said was perfect for everybody that's grown something at home. Put it into your closet for a couple of hours when it's barely a seedling, when it's just getting started. Turn the temperature up. Don't give it any water while it's in that hot temperature, and then pull it out, and then you're gonna have a totally different plant grow up.
Yeah,
Plants remember those things, right?
right.
They remember being hurt, and they will almost stop growing to protect themselves in case it happens again,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And
Totally right.
and so they're really smart. They're really intelligent. Plants are really adaptive. And for somebody who's growing these plants to get the most yield from them, that could be huge in the net yield of what you're growing. So
Mhm.
in sorry, it looks like my headphones are getting a little trouble here, but
Yeah.
um, great decision there to say, okay, let's build our own propagation house. Let's propagate on site. Let's move them right into the greenhouses, and let's get them growing. Let's not have any hiccups in their life cycle. Um, and then from there, you guys decided, let's build some more greenhouses. Everything else is fine. We've solved the propagation. We've solved the packing. Let's expand, right?
That's right.
And so things have been smooth. You guys have been operating. You learned some operational growing pains from growing so fast
Yeah.
that it's best to find quality talent. And where have you guys been looking for that? What is your talent pipeline look like for key positions in the company? Are you guys
Hmm.
posting job links online, promoting locally with the economic development committees? Are you
Hmm.
going to universities? What are your tactical maneuvers when you're looking for key people?
Yeah. Okay. So let's get in a little into this. As you said, what we just covered here has a lot of things like plant distribution in the packing house. What you said about the plant, it's so true. You know good stuff about this. The plant, when it's stressed, it would make small fruits and just try to pull them out just because this way they reproduce with the seeds and they don't yield as much and so on. And yeah, coming back to this, to the um, how do you call this? Well, yeah, the search for talent, for employees. Um, One of the biggest points we would like to see is how many years does this person that you're interviewing has been on their previous jobs. So if they've been jumping like only 6 months, 6 months from job to job, then you can expect that he will be only 6 months on your company. And on 6 months, even though it looks like a very good person that is very capable, very intelligent, and so on, you can expect them to go and fly away again in 6 months or a year. So that's a key one. You will always prefer to have people that stays for the long ride with you. So you don't have to train and retrain and then train again and search again for people. And then you are consume a lot of your energy and time on maintaining your operation instead of growing up with this solid team. We search for the people on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on there's another platform that is called Indeed.com, OCC.com is another one, and those two that I just mentioned at the last part, they are um, they are very good. A lot of people searching for a job, they go into these platforms here in Mexico and on our area. So we even pay like it's really very cheap, but we pay the promoting so our vacants get very spread on the internet. So first, we have a phase where we receive all the curriculums. So if we have a key position, we post it on all these platforms. We also post it on our company. to see if there's some inner talent on our people. Maybe we have somebody on production that wants to come to a more administrative job and is looking for this type of job. And it happens that he has a career on business management or something, and that's big, and we give them the opportunity, right? So we post it internally, as in externally. We receive all the curriculums, and we filter out. Um, mm, we try to use the numbers on our favor. So instead of only getting 10 curriculums and interviewing 3 people, if you want a really good recruiting, uh, then we will aim to get like 100 curriculums only for one job. And from these, you prune away all the ones that are obvious that are not fit for you. You can see from the curriculum that they are not fit for you. You take them out, and then we select like 30 people to interview. And we have on our HR team somebody that help us to do a lot of interviews. And then on the second round of interviews, then we, the management, we come along inside and do a second interview and hit the key questions. Yeah, and try to find out if these people are, first of all, capable of taking this job that you are proposing to them. Second, if they have had any experience with this job. So maybe if you're looking for a certification manager that helps you with your certifications, if he was in another greenhouse with this same job of certifications, then that's gold for you because you won't have to train him as much. You need someone that has experience, and third and very important, somebody that will stay on with you. We like also to ask the people about their lives and where did he study, the if he had or she had any troubles growing up, or how many siblings do they have, their parents, what do they do, get really like a scope of their life and see what challenges they have faced. So yeah, I think we have now some feeling and some experience to hiring good trained people.
Those are all really great operational tactics, especially when hiring. Use internal hiring, then go external. Um,
Hmm.
I really, I really feel you when you say uh, it's a painful experience when you try to give someone an opportunity, but they're not prepared for it, and it ends up costing your operation uh, money because they made an operational mistake, right?
Yeah,
Especially in your business, I could only imagine because making a mistake in logistics, in planning, costs tremendously because who knows how many shipments have been have had a bad decision made when they're reaching their end destination. Um,
yeah.
yeah, that's fascinating, and I wanted to ask a little bit more about what you were discussing earlier, which is the learning process surrounding getting goods through the border, right? What
Okay.
was what was that like? What can you take us through an example of what it's like to ship, let's say, in this case, fresh produce to the United States? What are you preparing for Customs and Border Patrol? How often are things audited, right? And does it
Okay.
cost money for things to be audited? Who pays these costs? Because I think a lot of our listeners have never sent things across the border before, and
Yeah.
that would be a really interesting
Mhm.
example for you to share.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, this is a big one. So there's a couple of levels over here. When you are exporting something to the US or to other countries, you've got some requirements. When you are exporting food, you got some other additional requirements. And when you're exporting tomato, then you got some additional requirements because there is a situation internationally within Mexico and the US that is called the suspension, the anti-dumping suspension agreement, which what happened here, like I'm not sure, but I think it happened many years ago. I would lie to you, but it is once there was like a whole oversupply of tomato within the all the region in Mexico and also in the US, and many Mexican producers they sold in very low prices their product into the US. We fortunately have here very good weather and very, I think, cheaper labor people. So I think for us Mexicans, it's easier to low prices. Um, I'm taking a leap on this. I'm not really sure if I could conclude this, but I think it's maybe cheaper for us, and that for American producers that they do a lot of tomatoes also in Florida, for example. There's a lot of tomato greenhouses and open field farmers, producers, and so what happened here is that there was a very low price time because the oversupply in a certain period of time. So the U.S. said like, you know what, you are hurting my producers from Florida and all over the other states, and they are getting their business wrecked because of this. They will recuperate in 2 years because of this problem. And you know, this also happened to us here in Mexico, but as the market, as this target market is in the US, so they said, you know what, we have to take care of our own, and we will put a tax fee on Mexican tomatoes if they cross the border. So what this made is that Mexican tomatoes were much more expensive for have them cross to the US. So for us Mexicans was like, and I didn't live through this. You know, we are 6-year-old company. This happened way before. We didn't experience this. But what I hear and what I know is that so for us Mexicans at that time to get a tomato exported into the US, it became so much more expensive. So this was like a regulatory tax process that didn't work out because a couple of months after this, then in the US, they had the inverse problem. Now they have undersupply on the market and they need much more food. And so Mexico and United States say, you know what? Let's make a deal. Let's make an agreement that is called the Tomato Suspension Agreement, the Anti-Dumping Tomato Suspension Agreement. And in this agreement, we all, Mexican and Americans, we will set the prices, the minimum prices, so that this dumping experience on the market never happens again. So if and this works only for tomato. This happened only for tomato. Maybe it has happened in other commodities, in other industries, but in tomato this happened. And the tax for exporting, they lifted up on the borders at the condition that we are not to violate never a very low price that is posted like every year, every 2 years they update it. So this what you're asking is really a long question, but I'll try to sum it up. You need you need to have a certification first in your farm, in your food company in Mexico, from the Mexican government, from this department that is called Senacica. Senacica, what they do is they come into your farm and they audit you, and they see that all of your processes they comply with the quality and innocuous and clean regulations, right? that you don't use any forbidden pesticides that will hurt the people that eat your vegetables, that you're cleaning off, that you don't have any salmonella or E. coli or some viruses and bacteria of that sort. They ask for you to do a periodic lab studies on your fruit, on your soil, on your water. So this is a very big step. You need to comply with a lot of requirements. And once you get this, um, there's another certificate. You get certified by Senacica. There's another certification, Primus GFS, which is like the homologous from Senacica, but this one is recognized worldwide. So the American customers, they do not ask for Senacica as they do know it so well. They ask for Primus GFS. If you are already certified on Senacica or vice versa on Primus GFS, then it's very easy to get the other one because they ask actually for the same stuff. So first you get your food certification facility permit on order. Then and then the next step to export the product is that um, you need to register your crops into some department also within Senacica and to tell them I want to export this product, and they give you an ID. They give you an ID and they ask for you for other documents on you, like the land, if the land is really yours or you are renting it, where's the contract, like your employees, do they have all their social security and all stuff? They ask a lot of requirements to give you this ID, which is a Mexican ID that says Mexican authority. I know this guy, and they are producing these tons a year, and you cannot export more kilograms, just the ones that they see you have. I mean, you cannot get product from elsewhere and say I'm going to export them through me because some other guy doesn't have the permit. No, they look a lot into this. They ask for the coordinates of your ranch. They see it on the satellite, and they also visit you. There's a lot of process around this. Then when you got a green light on this, then you got to get your anti-dumping suspension agreement green light, which is managed by a couple of associations here in Mexico. You can do it yourself with lawyers, but it's much more easier to associate with these organizations that the one we use and is the most widely used is called AMPAC. AMPAC, AMHPAC. What they do, and what these letters stand for is like associations of greenhouses in Mexico for tomatoes, something like this. And what they do is like they take all your documents, your certifications, and they validate that you won't use lower prices, and they give you some training to see the prices all the time and to use the proper boxes and proper labeling, everything that needs to be in order to cross the border. And once you are all good with them and you pay them some money, they give you another ID, and then you go with the economic department in Mexico, which is like like commerce department, something like this. And then you tell them, you know what, I'm ready with all these steps, and I'm ready to cross the border. And they give you yet another ID, which handles like the exact kilograms that you are shipping every time, and that you don't get over your limited amount of kilograms that you have. And yeah, I maybe skipped some of the steps, but there's a lot of bureaucracy into this, and I think maybe it's good because you don't want ill food to be sold into any market, right? People would get sick and so on. And on the border, you get sometimes inspections for bulk presentations. You get them every time. For clamshell or top seal packed tomatoes, you get them random, not every time you cross the border. And you have to pay like $300 for the inspection, and there's a U.S. Officer inspector that takes your tomato and makes a lab sample out of this and see if there's salmonella or a pesticide or anything wrong with it. And until he frees the product that is good, then your shipping is good to go into the US. And I skipped some steps, but pretty much this is it.
No, excellent. Andres, thank you. That was very thorough. So it sounds like you jumped through 4 to 5 regulatory hurdles domestically,
Yeah,
right? You get issued a couple different IDs, right? You go through this
yeah,
process verifying so that amounts are monitored, weight and yield approximations can be monitored. There's no dumping, right? There's minimum pricing set by the United States to help protect their farmers and help protect the
right.
market itself. Um, and then it gets to the border, depending on its presentation. It will be either randomly inspected or every shipment inspected.
Mhm.
And let's say that in an example, your tomatoes. So I just want to get one thing out of my mind real quick to make sure. So
Yeah,
you pack it up. It's in refrigeration. I want the audience to really see like the amount of care and energy that's put into the process. So you guys grow the tomatoes from seed, right? It can take 120 days to
right,
sometimes even longer from a seed to get to where it's bearing fruit.
right.
So this is an incredibly time intensive process for you, right? So you guys
Yeah,
start from seed, you propagate, you grow the plant, you use a lot of organic farming techniques, correct?
right.
So
Yeah, we are organic.
you guys are an organic farm, which has even more
That's right.
learning processes and difficulties. So you guys have really taken the time to say, hey, we want to do this, we want to do this right. So you start from seed, 120 days, you grow, you're naturally propagating, you're naturally fertilizing, these plants are growing, you're combating pest control through natural means, right? And then you guys
That's
pack
right.
it up, you put it into refrigerated storage in your facility to
Mhm.
keep them from
Mhm.
over ripening or ripening at a time that's not convenient for getting it to the customer. You put it on a refrigerated truck, correct?
Right,
It goes from central Mexico up to the border where the Customs and Border Patrol take their time to inspect it, where it still has to be refrigerated. So there's an additional expense in the crossing process. And then it
right.
gets to the cold storage facility in the United States or Canada, wherever the end buyer is.
That's
So
right.
this can become an incredibly time intensive process for you guys, right? So this takes time, but if you're willing to be patient and work through all the regulatory hurdles, you know you, you can be successful in selling to the American market in Katara Farms this case.
Right.
So that's uh that's an incredible process. Like where in that process of you guys learning what it takes to get it there, right? And to do it all yourself. Um were you reading books? Were you listening to podcasts? Were you reading government websites? Like, I'm sure there was so much learning involved in that. Were you guys
Yeah.
just calling up the agencies and calling up, what was it, Seneca?
Unpack. Senacica. Senacica.
Seneca. So you were calling
Yeah.
Seneca, you guys were calling
Yeah.
Primus. I'm sure
Yeah.
for them it wasn't difficult because you have to pay them. So they were like, yes, please. But you
Yeah.
guys were calling Unpack. How did you find out about Unpack? Like, where were you grabbing your tidbits of information to put this picture together
of what it takes to
Okay.
get this thing done?
Well, you mentioned some of them. We were asking the government institutions how to do this, Senacica and PAC and so on, and they really can orient you on the big picture of what you need to do. We were also doing some trainings. There are a lot of companies that do trainings for agricultural companies like us, where they specialize on telling you the do's and don'ts, right? We also have been helped a lot by our suppliers and our customers, as it's in their best interest that we have a success. They tell us a lot of information that they've been many years on the business, and they tell us, you know what, if you want to cross the border, you need this and this, and don't forget to check out this. And they help us a lot. And also, we've been learning through mistakes. So when we did like the Excel spreadsheet of this business, and in an ideal world with everything is perfect, we said, "Oh, this is very great business. We would get the investment return like in 3-4 years, or maybe less. It looks very good. It's all gonna be good." But as you go into the real world, you you get a lot of mistakes, and these mistakes they are natural because you cannot jump from being somebody who do not knows anything about agriculture to being one who masters it like in one day, right? You need years of this. There's a lot of parts of this process, a lot of people involved, and a lot of areas. So we've made a lot of mistakes, William, and this is also a thing that has made us learn, helped us learn a lot the mistakes. Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. So trial by fire. That was
that's
that
right.
was the approach, and I mean that really speaks to your family, right? And the resiliency that you guys have cultivated internally to be able to just any obstacle that comes in your way, you guys are hurdling. You guys are talking strategy. You guys are okay. How can we make this happen? What's the next step here? And I really admire that. I really appreciate that. It's an incredible story, Andres.
Thank you.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
so if you like, I know that there might be some listeners out there that are young. They're either in university in Mexico, university in the United States, and maybe they're thinking about like,
Mhm.
hey, I would love to become a sustainable practice farmer. I want to, maybe they want to grow pineapples, or maybe they want to grow bananas, or maybe they really like tomatoes,
Okay.
and they're thinking about doing this themselves. What would be the advice that you would give to somebody who's looking to get into agriculture, particularly greenhouse cultivations,
Mhm.
and maybe they're in Mexico and maybe they want to go and sell to the US markets and make this a living one day themselves too. What would be the advice that you would give to them as a young business owner?
Okay. Yeah. Well, um, maybe a general advice would be to do your homework. Um, if you prepare a lot, then you prepare for success. If you do not prepare, you prepare to fail. Actually, so try to do your homework on every area, on HR, on production, on legal department, on certifications matters. Try to do your homework very thorough in every one of these parts that the company or any sustainable greenhouse project needs. Um, and also know that the process may be longer that anybody may feel at the beginning. When you see the planning and you see like the straight way that you've done in your planning, it looks pretty straightforward. But on the real world, you get always a lot of challenges, a lot of challenges. So trust the process, remain on the match, do not quit. Um, you gotta know that it takes time, so do not get desesperated, or If you are not getting the results as quick as you want, stay there, be resilient, and sometimes some mistakes or some things happens, like you lose a deal with very good money and you have already the product. Now you're going to have to sell it very low, and you see that on a spreadsheet, and you see like this is going to cost you like 1 year of or maybe more of debt, and being behind your schedule. Um, Always think that these challenges are making you stronger. So thank them. You have to have that mentality. All the challenges actually make you stronger. So bear this in mind. And yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. And we're gonna get to the closing remarks. Like, what does the future look like for Katara? What are you guys looking to do? And of course, like, what are some goals that you have for yourself, Andres, in the in the near future?
Okay, yeah. So we we have been building this solid structure, and I think this gives us now like a very solid ground to process more items. Right now we do cherry medley and TOB tomatoes, Camparis, and nopales, no nopal. um, so I think with the robust structure the robust base that we now have, we can do some scaling up. So what we are planning and we are looking forward to is to have more volume on our hands. Um, I mean, there's always a bigger fish, you know? So if you look to the biggest companies in Mexico, which they have been on the business like 30 years, 50 years, a lot of time. They are very big and very nice companies. So we are aiming to be that. Personally, I would like to make an impact on the world that helps. I think it's very sad that we only live less than 100 years, and then our memories maybe last forever. So what I would like to do is to have an impact on my fellow humans. I also don't like to see like one country or other country. We are all a species and humanity. So I would like to help fellow humans, and this has been in my way the way to do it. So I'll be happy to expand, to give out more jobs with my family, um, and to help more people to have a decent job, and to set good standards about the food industry of doing the things good.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Those are incredible goals. And, I'm excited to be working alongside you and watching your progress and supporting you guys in any way that we can. And Andres, thank you so much for your time and thank you for being on Internationally Paid.
Yeah,
Um, you know, we'll talk again soon and
sure.
yeah, I really look forward to watching your journey.
Great. No, thanks to you, Will. I think we didn't spoke about this, about our relationship. You are giving us this factoring based on our exporting statistics and history, and it's really helped us a lot. This factoring, that supply pay that you are giving us. So thanks to you for that, and thanks to you for hosting this podcast. It's been really nice to share some of our journey with you guys.
Absolutely, Andres. Thank you so much.
All right, bye bye.